This episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters was insane. We had the beginning of the creation of Monarch, we had the death of the first Godzilla, and we officially had Mole Titan confirmed in the Monsterverse. Join me in this general analysis of the third episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Let's go! Welcome back to Nerds Insights, your daily nerd news channel. Once again with Monarch Legacy of Monsters, we're going to do a really cool review of episode 3, which was simply insane, fantastic, the best of the third episodes so far. But before we start talking about them, leave your like here on the channel, and comment which was the best episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters for you so far, among 1, 2, and 3. For me it was 3. What about you? Comment below. Episode 3 starts exactly where episode 2 left off with Lee Shaw, Kate, Kentaro, and May escaping from that prison in the form of a retirement home for Monarch deserters. They plan to go to Alaska, where Hiroshi was last seen. In the meantime, the episode makes some time skips between 2015 and 1954, 2 years after the discovery of the Ion Dragon. And if you still have doubts about who the Ion Dragon is, what its powers are, references, and curiosities, I made a very complete video telling everything about this new kaiju of the Monsterverse here on the card, so click there to watch and be well informed. And for the rest of the episode, we have nothing more about 1952. We don't know what happened after Shaw, Dr. Miura, and Bill Randa escaped from the USS Lawton and were attacked by the Ion Dragon, and in 1954, we have General Puckett, Lee Shaw's superior, appearing again to be presented with a footprint of Godzilla, a gigantic footprint made in the middle of the sand, which intrigued him. And that's when we discovered that that was the beginning of Monarch, which was just 3 people, Bill, Randa, Dr. Miura, and Lieutenant Shaw. They said they needed financial support and asked for this support from the United States Army. After seeing the size of the problem, the size of the footprint, General Puckett decides to help with 70 kilograms of uranium in Monarch's research on the kaiju. But what they didn't imagine is that the Army's plans were different. While Monarch planned to study, to know what it was, until then Godzilla was classified as a Muto, which is a massive unidentified terrestrial organism, and only later they classified him as Gojira. They wanted to study him, to know where he had been all this time, why he is appearing now, what he feeds on, where he lives. They really wanted to analyze and study, but the Army's plans were really to execute that global threat. And in the midst of this episode, we return to 2015 when we see that Lee Shaw, even at his 90 years, is still very tough. He, along with the protagonists, boarded a ship without a passport and landed in Korea, amid some discussions with Kentaro and Kate about trust in Hiroshi Randa's past, but they all resolve and decide to follow Lieutenant Shaw's plan. Arriving there in Korea, they meet a friend of Shaw's named Do-Ho, and they all fly straight to Alaska, and we have to say that May is extremely intelligent. She not only digitized all of Monarch's files, but she knows about Monarch's tracking power, and she leaves no traces, so she is a very intelligent character who could have a greater focus. I even think that possibly she could be recruited by the Monarch organization itself. And in the midst of this, we have Tim along with Duval receiving a visit from a Monarch superior. She confronts Tim asking why he didn't notify her or Dr. Sarazawa about the lost files of Willie and Randa. But it seems that this issue is something personal for Tim, so he and Duval will continue to follow the clues of where our quartet of protagonists is. Since she receives a call and they receive information that the 4 landed in Korea, but they have already left there. Going back to 1954, we see that famous scene of the execution of the first Godzilla. We had only seen the report of that camera, which we now know was Bill Randa recording, and the entire Army, all the important people of the United States Army were present on that island. And that's when we see that scene from the trailer of Godzilla coming out, emerging from the waters, going towards the uranium to feed on radiation. And the uranium simply explodes in his face, but it's obvious that Godzilla will feed on that uranium. The only thing that can really hurt him is an oxygen bomb, the oxygen destroyer. Uranium will only make him stronger, as we saw in Godzilla 2 King of the Monsters. Dr. Miura freaks out and tries to stop the execution, but it's obvious that at this point it's no longer possible, and after the execution of the first Godzilla, they receive carte blanche to act all over the world, being financed by the United States government. In other words, Monarch is now a secret service in the United States to deal with these giant monsters. Now we return to 2015 again, where our protagonists arrive in Alaska after leaving Korea on Do-Ho's plane but have to make a forced landing at the last location of Hiroshi Randa. Upon arriving there, they see Hiroshi Randa's plane completely destroyed and a person frozen in the pilot's seat. But it wasn't Hiroshi. They continue exploring the place and find a tent, an improvised cabin, made by someone mysterious, and inside it is full of notes, and by the handwriting and the pencil that was cut. On the table, his children, Kate and Kentaro, recognize that everything there is from their father Hiroshi, but while they are there exploring, Do-Ho, Shaw's friend, who helped them enter and escape from Korea, begins to analyze Hiroshi's destroyed plane. He realizes that the plane landed safely, but for some reason, it was destroyed. While he continues analyzing the wreckage, he finds a gigantic claw in the carcass of the plane. He immediately panics and starts screaming that they all have to get out of there. While they try to flee back to the plane, he appears. Mole Titan. I brought the leak of this Titan here on the channel. That's why I say, you have to be subscribed here to this channel with the notification bell on. Because this Titan, I had already leaked here on the channel. I had already leaked with name and images. So if you weren't subscribed, you missed out. Simply that, you missed out. And this Titan is crazy. With him, there's no messing around, no chit-chat or anything. He starts attacking the plane. And one thing that impressed me are his freezing powers. He freezes the plane and then destroys it. And we have to say that the design of this Titan is very crazy. Although he is not one of the biggest, as big as Kong or Godzilla himself, his design is very crazy. And I can only imagine when he will appear in Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. And the most curious thing is his power to freeze. He has the power to freeze just like the Titan Shenmue. Of course, Shenmue's will be something much more advanced. Shenmue has the power to freeze the entire world. But I found it very interesting that Mole Titan also has the power to freeze, and he also lives under the snow. He is really a cold Titan. After Mole Titan destroys the plane and apparently kills Du-Ho, he remains there standing while the protagonists also remain standing looking at him not knowing what to do. And so ends episode 3 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and you already know. Do you see that button that is appearing here on your screen? You click on it and subscribe so you don't miss any more news here on the channel. Every day we have new news about the nerd world, and I'm sure you won't want to miss out and find out everything after others. So get ahead. Be the first by subscribing with the notification bell on. It's us. Until next time.